Good afternoon. It is a beautiful Friday afternoon, this first Friday in August. This is your news and information show, Torn in Two. When you usually catch us at this time, you're welcome to this show by the host, Gregory T. Roberts. My friend and brother, Greg Roberts, is on vacation. Hopefully, you've seen or heard me here before. My name is Melvin Burns. I help co host the show. And on occasion, when Mr. Roberts is out, he allows me to drive the ship. And so we're going to do what we always do here. We're going to have good discussion. We're going to have news, information, dialogue, monologue, whatever seems to work. But turn up your radio. Don't change the dial, as my friend likes to say. Let's see what we're going to talk about today. Hoping to join me a little later in the show will be Mr. Tony Williams. We've had him before, and we're going to talk about the economy and things that are going on. The jobs report came out today. But until he joins us, how are you folks doing out there? Um, Big week, right? We were here Tuesday night, election night. How were things going? It's been 3 days. Most of us found out Tuesday night or Wednesday morning how those results turned out. What are your thoughts about that? Did your candidates win? Did they lose? You're waiting to see. Certainly after Tuesday night, we got a preview of some of the races that will take place over the next few months. It started the next morning. We get a preview of some of the strategies that are going to be used in the general election. So, what are your thoughts? For those that don't know, I believe today, no, I believe yesterday, the 4th, most of the Board of Canvassers met. They have to meet the next few days, the County Board of Canvassers, and then I believe by 16th. I forget. I looked up the date earlier, but the State Board of Canvassers meet. So you voted. We all know this a little bit now, right? You voted. They count your ballots. There's those Board of Canvassers that have to certify the elections. I don't anticipate any insurrections at your county uh, clerk election offices or at our. I don't anticipate any at our state. Although I do remember hearing one gubernatorial candidate ask for a recount, even though there was a over double digit win by Tudor Dixon, who'll be the Republican nominee for governor. So, what else is going on in the news? You folks been following the news? Is everybody out enjoying this beautiful summer weather that we're having? We're fortunate. Some parts of the country they're having a drought, and a lot of parts of the country they're having a drought. But here in Muskegon, we've had beautiful sunshine and we've had rain, both that are needed. And that's your weather report for today. I think we're in for a beautiful weekend as well. And so, well, wait for I guess. What have you guys been noticing about the economy? I'm sure if you're like me, when you go to the grocery store, um, you're still in a state of shock, right? The prices of items still does not seem to be coming down, which is um, interesting because again, I gas up every week, and the price of gasoline I have noticed the last few weeks is starting to come down. In fact, quite a bit. Um, and so, whatever the factors are, and we'll talk about those hopefully, that are causing gasoline prices to come down, don't seem to be affecting our groceries. Um, Man, I tell you, I don't know about you, but it has caused me to change the items I buy and value shop a little bit more, and I'll pick up items in my cart even more so than in the past. Pick up items in my cart, put them back, get to the grocery line, and do my little evaluation of how much I want to spend that day. And so, um, you participate in this economy. Curious to hear your thoughts as we get into our discussion today, whether it's your grocery cart, your gasoline. Fortunately, and maybe we'll see more, our utility costs don't seem to have been hit quite as much. But we'll talk about that some more today, and maybe hear some of your thoughts as well on things that are going on. All right. I believe that our guest is preparing to come on. Um, Mr. Williams.
I am here, Pastor Burns.
Hey, it's good to see you, my brother. How are you doing today?
I'm great, my friend. Thank you very much.
It's so good to have you on. And I think last time we talked, you really informed and enlightened us. And I believe I actually went and spent a little money in the market after our last discussion. So
Oh, good.
not that this was investment advice for anybody, but you said some things that kind of piqued my interest, and I said, "Oh, let me do a few things different here."
Yeah, you got
But
that discretionary income, just laying around. This is the
oh,
time to get into the market, man.
I had a coffee can in the backyard I dug up and decided to do something a little more proactive with it.
Great. Excellent.
Good. How have you been, brother?
I have been truly blessed. I had an opportunity to do some traveling over the last couple of weeks and, just get some insight to what else is happening around the country.
Yes,
We're
yes,
kind of somewhat isolated here in our own community and, really never get a chance to go out and take a look at other communities and just get a feel for what's happening outside of our environment here in Muskegon.
sure, sure. Well, let's talk about the economy.
Yes, the economy, which has been
Yes,
the topic of conversation on many of the news feeds and the financial networks. The
grocery store
economy,
line, gas pump.
right? You
Yes.
know, in front and center, in which it should be,
Uh
because it
huh.
affects each and every one of us in a different way, right?
Yes.
If you're in that higher tax bracket, you can see those prices, but it doesn't affect you as much as it does an individual that is living on a fixed income
Sure.
or not in that higher tax bracket, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
And I have to admit, there's a lot of dynamics at play in this market that
Yes.
actually contradicts what we've seen in the past from a historical basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know,
Well, if you want to start, I just happened to catch a little news about the job support that just came out.
right, which I don't think the folks on Wall Street expected those kinds of numbers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and again, that goes against all the things that we talk about when we say that we're in a recession or we're headed
Mhm.
into a recession.
Yes.
Um, this is one of the key indicators that they use in order to determine, where we're at in the process of recovery or going into a recession.
Yes.
Um, but there were over 500,000 jobs created, 5,280 jobs, right?
I know. Just caught everybody by surprise, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Like I said, all the talking heads who spend, a majority of their time crunching numbers and gathering data in order to project what will be coming down in the next 3 months, 6 months. And you're right. I think it caught them off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the other factor is unemployment,
Okay.
right? Unemployment
Yeah.
is at 3.5%.
Okay.
Most economists say, well, you should probably take at least 1% of that number off
Yes.
because those people aren't even looking for work. They're being
Right.
counted
Right.
as
Yes.
unemployed, but there's a percentage of them that's not even looking for work.
Yeah.
So 3.5, man, is it's amazing. It
Yeah. I
actually
mean,
is.
I mean, you and I are old enough to remember. I mean, economic classes, and they used to tell us like that was almost like full employment. We don't use that term anymore. But when you start
Right.
talking about, 2.5, 3%, it's pretty much, you know, the rest of the people, what unemployable or needed a skill updating. But that was pretty much close to call full employment back in the day.
Absolutely right. So I guess the question is that 3.5 or 2.5, are they actually looking for work? For the
Yeah.
simple reason that you can still, drive around town and
Right.
see help warning signs,
Right. Right.
you know? So yeah, the old saying, if you're looking for a job, they're out here. I heard How
Yes.
Met did uh, an advertising today, How Met up in Whitehall. They're having a
Mhm.
job fair. So again, these major companies are looking for individuals to come in and fill open positions.
Yeah. I mean, it's
So
not that's just not a Muskegon issue. I guess you see that all over. I've been over the state and I see it all over the state. I see the help wanted signs, billboards,
yeah,
advertising for employees.
yeah. Even I was out in California,
Uh-huh.
um, which is it's almost like that's a different country.
Mhm.
The things that happen in California it don't
Yeah.
seem like that, part of the United States. But yeah, they're facing the same types of issues of employment as we have here in West Michigan.
Okay.
So, and then the other factor here, Pastor, is the interest rates, right?
Yes.
The federal government uses the Treasury Department to manage that part of the economy. And we
Yes.
know we've seen two interest rates of 3.25% since the spring.
Yes.
And the purpose of that is to slow the economy, right?
Okay.
That's to curb the appetite for individuals to go out and purchase new vehicles,
Mhm.
appliances, purchase, homes. I mean, 3 months ago, the housing market was like on fire.
Yes. Yes.
There were stories about individuals putting their house on the market and they were getting, 10 to 12% above the
Yeah.
asking price.
Yeah, and I know those stories to not be fictitious. I've heard, I've heard firsthand accounts of people buying and selling. In that market. Yeah,
Right. It was a hot market, and
yeah,
it has
yeah.
cooled some. Right. When
Okay,
you go from 3% to 6%, um, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're looking at a $200,000 home and a
yes,
30-year mortgage, you're looking at an additional $500 to $600 per month
okay, yeah. Not,
increase in
not
the house payment.
sure.
So again, that trajectory of the
Hmm.
housing market has dipped.
Okay,
Um, the next indicator is the automobile industry.
okay,
Those two kind of go hand in hand when we talk about recession. Why?
okay,
Because, 90% of the people that purchase homes buy vehicles, they're financed.
okay.
And when you increase the interest rates, 100%, basically, which we've done
Hmm.
since spring, and we, from all indications, we're going to get another 0.75% increase before the end of the month.
Okay.
So that'll push us closer to that 7% mark.
Wow.
Um, but back in the late 70s, early 80s, we were at 18% interest, Pastor.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you and I probably weren't in that category of really paying attention because we were just getting out of school or whatever,
Right.
so didn't pay a lot of attention. But yeah,
I remember
um,
complaining about it on good times. I don't
okay,
remember. I know how it affected the Evans family. I don't know about.
right, but you're right. it filtered into the sitcom narrative
Yeah, yeah.
about the interest rates, and people still purchased homes at
Right.
that point in time, and they were paying those huge interest rates, and the reason was because there was that inflation factor again.
Yes.
um, and this, they kind of go back and look at the blueprint of what happened during that
Hmm.
time period in order to stem it. So,
Yeah.
and most economists say we went too far, right? When we
On the interest rates.
Yeah, when we pushed it to 18%.
Oh, when they push it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So now, are to what degree is the economy still being affected by? Well, I shouldn't say by the height of the pandemic.
Well, the supply chain is
Hmm.
still in a recovery mode,
Okay.
um, which really led to the inflationary environment in which we live in. It's
o-
the simple adage of supply and demand,
Okay.
right? When the
Yeah.
supply is limited, the demand is high, the producer can increase the cost for that product, that good, or that services.
Hmm.
And that's what's happened.
Yeah.
There just wasn't enough widgets or things that the public wanted to purchase So therefore, they just raised the price.
Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it has filtered over into just about every aspect of our daily lives,
Yes.
from going to the gas station to shopping at your Walmart, your Meijer.
Hmm.
Um, we all know that things cost a whole lot more than they did this time last year.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but they want to blame the present administration for that.
Okay.
Um, and regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on, um, it was just one of those situations that whoever was in charge was facing a huge, daunting task of trying to get this country back on balance.
Yes.
And they blame the stimulus money that was forked over by the federal government as
Uh-huh.
to pouring fuel on the fire, if you will, uh, because again, this injection of cash into the economy gave the consumer the ability to go out and purchase goods and services which weren't readily available. So that forced producers to increase that price because the supply was low and the demand was high, which is
Hmm.
it fuels inflation.
Yeah.
So, but again, I can't say that we're in a recession. They keep saying
Right.
we're in a recession, but
Uh-huh.
all the key indicators don't indicate that, which is
Right. Hmm.
unemployment is
Right.
major.
Hmm.
Uh, Job market seems to be strong and robust.
Okay.
Um, so, you know, I just don't think we're there, and I don't think we're going to get there. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, there'll be some corrections.
Okay.
Um, from some of the larger corporations, they're going to be again refiguring, redesigning their workforce in order to stay competitive. Um, but I won't, definitely won't see anything like we seen back in the '80s, where we had the double-digit unemployment rates of 12 and
Okay.
13%.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So,
You know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
good. No, I was just
No
going to
problem.
say that a lot of talk has been about the green energy, right? Where we
Yes.
just had the infrastructure bill, electric vehicles, doing away with coal-fired um, utilities. Um, State of California has always
Mm.
kind of been on the leading edge of technology, right? You got Silicon Valley out there. You got a lot of the
Yes.
giant tech companies,
Hmm.
and the amazing part of that segment of the country is how they have embraced with electric vehicles
Okay.
and um, and have provided the infrastructure, right, to
Hmm.
support that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, probably out of every 20 vehicles, 15 are electric,
Wow.
and out
Really?
of that 20, maybe two are American-made automobiles.
Wow.
We know Toyota, Nissan, Mercedes,
Hmm.
they have all built factories in this country,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
But they have chose to embrace these foreign automakers.
Okay.
And why, I don't know, because I
Hmm.
still think the American car makers um, have just as good a product as the foreign.
Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah. So a couple thoughts. We just heard this contention earlier this week that this embracing of green energy is detrimental to the economy. Um, is there? Okay. Okay. Are you there with me, brother? Again, this is your news information station, Torn in Two, having a very interesting and informative discussion with our guest Tony Williams. I hope that you're listening, having a chance to take some notes or just take in this very interesting dialogue. I did see a comment by Michael Smith earlier. We'll talk about that, where he mentioned gas prices have been going down. And we want to talk about that too. They've been going down. Why have they been going down? And should we expect they'll continue to go down? And certainly, none of us are complaining about lower gas prices, especially during the summer, while we're out and traveling and attending weddings and picnics and family gatherings. So that's something a trend we certainly hope to see continue over the next few weeks or indefinitely. Some of us again remember not too long ago when we hit that when that gas went below $2. It was Christmas every day. So, Tony, can you hear me? Okay. And we'll have him back on. We're having some technical issues today. But how are you experiencing this economy? Again, we talked about jobs. We talked about some of the uh, items that have been costly. One of the ways that I experienced the low demand, the high demand, low supply. If you've had to buy a car in the last year, whether it's new or used, and I've noticed some of the car lots are starting to get a little more inventory, but gosh, empty car lots. Or if you've shopped for a used vehicle, and the price of used cars is still pretty astronomical, and you really have to value shop. Um, Last year I was shopping for used cars and just unreal the prices people are asking for vehicles. Okay. So how are you experiencing um, are you noticing any changes? Any housing market? And you folks out there actively looking for houses these days? And do you even notice? Do you pay attention to an interest rate, or is it when it's time to buy, you just buy? When it's time to get a car or a house, you don't pay attention to those things. A lot of times, there's some of us that look and notice, and sometimes we just, well, it's the time I got to do it. I got to do it. But obviously there's some benefit to us uh, paying attention to interest rates. Going for, again, as our guest said, going add a couple of points on your interest rate, can make a big difference on a car payment, a house payment, even on your credit cards. And then you paid attention to your credit cards, your revolving credit. Most of you have this condition on there that you may not have paid attention to. You may have thought your card was 14 or 15% interest. They have a little condition there that's really tied to the prime lending rate, and you may not have noticed that your interest rate has been creeping up over the past few months. So,
Um,
okay,
I think.
I got you back now.
Yep, you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah, we lost you for a
Okay.
minute, but I can hear you now.
Okay, but no, you're bringing up some great points
Uh huh.
um, about do people pay attention to that?
Yes.
Um, and if you really are into managing your household finances,
Mm-hmm.
where you really follow your income versus expenses, which is basically the same as if you ran a business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's income and there's expenses. And in order to really understand where you're at, that's an exercise that we all need to be doing, because at some point, those numbers will tell you are operating at a deficit.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, which means that somewhere along the way you are using other instruments to pay for your expenses because you've exhausted the income.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, Household debt increased just 2% this month, right? Doesn't
Okay.
sound like a lot, but when you look at it in the big scheme of things, um, we're like $16 trillion
Okay.
in debt in this country.
Wow.
And that equates to interest rates.
Yes.
So, again, that's an exercise that this time people really need to be paying attention to,
Okay.
because like you said earlier, if you're using credit cards to fill that gap between expenses and income, you have to pay that back at some point in time, and it's going to cost you more
Yes.
because interest rates are higher on that
Yeah.
revolving credit account. Unless
Hmm.
unless you're paying it off 30 days, right? When you
Yeah.
get your
Yeah.
bill, you pay it off in full.
Yeah. You know, and I can remember a friend of mine, like I'm gonna buy this on sale, but I'm gonna use my credit card. And it's like, okay, if it takes you a year to pay it, you didn't get a sale, you know.
No, no, there was no advantage to the purchase unless you paid
Right.
it off
Right.
in 30 days.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know, it's probably a very small percentage of people that do that. Um, but it does help you avoid the higher interest rates. But if you could, right, if you could pay off that card every 30 days, that means that you got a very good, strong cash flow.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's not an issue for you.
Hmm.
Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely the economist has noticed an increase in the use of credit cards to bridge that gap of expenses and income in this country over the last 2 months.
Yes. Can you tell us about gasoline prices? We've noticed they've been creeping down probably maybe last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe longer than that. But what's going on
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, well, a couple dynamics from a international and a national. West Texas crude, which is that oil that's basically produced here in the United States,
Okay.
is now below $90 a barrel,
Okay.
which it was
Wow.
above 100.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
back during the pandemic, people may find this
Hmm.
hard to believe, but this is true. They had so much oil that they were actually paying for truckers to take the oil out of their reservoirs, right?
Wow. Uh
That's
huh.
why gas is so cheap, is
Yeah.
because they could produce it, but they had nowhere to ship it.
Okay.
So anytime that happens, you still have a fixed cost. You still pay people to come into work every day to
Right. Right.
to manage these oil fields, but yet there was no income. So that was really a strange dynamic where the
Yeah.
price of a barrel was so low
Uh
that
huh.
they would almost give it away just to get it out of their
Wow.
inventory.
Okay.
And then, President Biden went to the Middle East and talked to the Saudis. He kind of had to go kiss the ring. Uh,
Uh huh.
there was some political issues there about the crown prince ordering the execution of this Josaki guy that was a news reporter,
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
giving him a lot of grief about that.
Sure.
So he went over and he agreed. They agreed. We don't know what kind of deals were cut. Right, we're
Uh
not
huh.
privy to that information, but
Yeah.
Pastor Burns, you don't get something for nothing.
He made the trip.
Yeah.
So
So they say they would increase production of 600,000 barrels a day,
okay.
um, which is not a huge amount when you talk about the amount of production that they have, and then you have to factor in there's other countries. The African continent also is oil producer, Libya,
Yes.
Nigeria, but they
Yes.
all follow the lead of the Saudis.
Okay.
Okay, whatever the Saudis do, they kind of fall in line. That's that OPEC situation. So with that in mind, we've seen the gas prices come down, and there's probably
Okay.
some other folks too that have restricted their driving, right? So the
Okay.
consumption
I see. Yes.
goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So economists saying by the end of August, early September, when the summer markets are over, keep people
Okay.
back to school, we could potentially be looking at under $3
Oh,
per gallon.
okay.
You know, but
Maybe
isn't it
postpone some
amazing?
of those trips a little bit to after Labor Day, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds psychological too, Pastor. When it was
Uh-huh.
at $5 or below, man, above $5,
Yeah.
people were livid,
Yeah.
screaming and
Yeah.
hollering, and
And that's a real thing, and the certain numbers,
yeah,
that $5 seem to be, be the number that's like, now if we hit that, I'm gonna do some fussing and some cussing.
Right.
and so they, again, part of that whole, if I understand, again, my part of that whole psychology, numbers is there's a number we have in our head that's just way too much,
Yep.
and I'm not going to pay that, or I'm gonna change behavior at that number.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still think, and again, in California,
Uh-huh.
they're $7.
Was that right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
anywhere between $7 and $6 a gallon.
Wow.
Um, and I mean, that's the largest state, as population wise, in this country.
Yes.
And I mean, there are just absolutely millions of cars that travel throughout that state on a daily basis. So their consumption is a whole lot more than ours. So again, it's about supply and demand.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are paying a big price in California, and that's
Wow.
why a lot of these vehicles are electric vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah, and I could tell you, I drove into a place that had, I bet you, 50 banks of electric car chargers,
Wow. Yeah.
and they're all over everywhere, man. You see them, they're everywhere.
Okay.
So they are way ahead of the curve on the clean energy. And as well as I do, the state of Michigan has been pushing hard to get some of that money into the state for these electric vehicles.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a whole new economy that is coming.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm sure people listening are saying, okay, so you talked about jobs and houses and we talked a little bit about credit cards and all this, but
Yep.
what are some of the things people should be doing, when these times, again, when we're seeing the rates go up? What are some tactics people can use to sort of fight back and help defend against some of these cost increases and inflationary increases we're seeing?
Well, again, one of the things is, Pastor, if you if you don't have a plan of where you're going, chances are you will not make it to your destination.
Okay.
Right. I mean, think about it. Right. When we take a vacation, I mean, there's probably a certain percentage of the population that just get in their car and go.
Yeah.
But not very many. A lot of them will plan that vacation, right? Hotel accommodations, rental car, where we're going to go. You kind of track your spending. So you have to manage your income, right? Because what happens is with the increased cost of your groceries, you might as well throw in utilities, because the electric company is definitely passing on some increased rates. That diminishes your discretionary income.
Okay.
Discretionary income is what's left over after all the bills are paid. And again, it varies from household to household, depending on if it's two wage earners and what your expenses are. And you really do need to have a clear indication of what that is in order to weather this period of time when we're all being challenged with the amount of expenses that we incur on a monthly basis.
Yes.
So, you really got to know what you're bringing in, what you're spending. You got to find out where that gap is. And the credit card is not the tool you want to use for that. People probably don't want to hear this, but a lot of things that we have now, we didn't have 20 years ago.
Okay.
And life was still good.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, cable bills, right? Everybody's got cable, and it serves a good purpose. But I know a lot of people probably have more than they need.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if you're spending, $200 or $300 a month for cable,
yeah,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
So now, see, they have you can purchase a streaming service from Comcast, $50 a month.
Yes.
So now you have to buy the Roku. It's the streaming services, which has become huge after the pandemic.
Yes.
So everybody has a streaming service.
Right.
All of the major companies do. That's an alternative, right? to get
Yes.
rid of the cable. If you're paying $200 a month, go to the streaming service for $50, and then you're going to have the internet service in it rather for 50,
Hmm.
and then maybe tack on another 20 for your streaming service.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but those are the kind of decisions that consumers need to make in order to narrow the gap between income and expenses. Cell phones, right? I know people that pay $100 a month in cell
Yes.
phone service.
Oh
That's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Restrict your driving. Okay. In other words, when you leave home, have a plan again. I'm gonna run my errands, and I'm gonna do it in a systematic way. So
Okay.
I'm not spending unnecessary time and gas traveling around the locations.
Okay.
Uh, be smart about shopping for groceries, right? Coupons.
Yeah.
Rarely do you see people with coupons anymore in the grocery store.
Mm. Okay.
Back when we were growing up, man, my mom used to cut coupons out of the newspaper.
Hey, you like don't throw the paper away. I need that sale paper. You better not throw that, especially you better not throw that Sunday paper away.
No, you're right. That
So look,
Sunday paper, half of
some
it
of our
was
younger listeners, a
coupons.
newspaper was this thing that came out that had stuff going on in the world. So, I know you all may not have seen one in a while, but they used to print the stuff that you read on
Right.
your phone and see on TV.
And you probably like me, Pastor. I had a paper route when I was younger. That was part of
I
my
didn't have one, but
hustle.
I helped my uncle I helped my uncle when he was younger. I helped my friends with theirs. But yep.
Right.
Oh
That was a
yeah.
part of our hustle, man. And
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
that is something that has gone by the wayside. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, newspapers are just
Yeah.
about out of business.
Yeah. Even as we talk about the economy, just off sidetrack, but those are early opportunities to learn about working, saving money.
Hmm.
You had to, once you got paid, you got to still pay for your papers the next week. So
Right.
you can't spend all of that money. But they were
Nope.
early interests into understanding, work, saving money. My daughter's laughing the other day because, your family probably didn't do this, but I had to pick blueberries.
Yes,
And
been there, done that.
okay, and so I today I can't eat whole blueberries, but
No.
picking my blueberries, figuring out how much I was gonna get a bucket on Saturday. And then what I'm gonna do, thinking what I'm gonna do with my money, and I got to make sure I save some to buy my pop or whatever through the week out there in that sun. So,
Yeah, hey, Pastor, you had to pay for your ride too, though, right? They didn't take you to the blueberry farm
well,
for
I
free,
had to
did
pay
they?
my grandfather for my ride to Blueberry Field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my grandfather charged me gas money. He was teaching me a life lesson.
Right. And gas was still probably about 50 cents a gallon back then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You had to pay him for gas.
Oh yeah, yeah. You didn't get to go for free now.
Yes, yeah.
No,
Going back
no, I
down,
was not
I
good at
guess. Yeah, Benita Threadgill says coupons, green stamps. Those are frugal
green
and taught
stuff.
us to say the same. That's right. Yep, collecting those green stamps. You got that book full. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Again, and all these are
Yeah.
ways where we look at the economy now, and we see a family of four, needing 80, $90,000 to get by. And
Mhm.
those of us who had larger families back in the day, and sometime, I remember going to college and looking at my dad's tax forms. So I remember what he made back then with a family of 8 people. And
Okay.
but green stamps and coupons were things that families did, to get by. I remember, sometimes somebody would, have a big side of beef or something, and several members of the family would go in to buy it and cut it up, and but those are the same things we're talking about now. Are the same things where, based on the economy, and you find ways to manage.
Right. And there was no shame in that, right?
No, not at all, not at
None
all.
at all. So, it's okay to go back and take things out of the past and apply it to today's standard of living. It's okay
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah,
But you're
and
right.
like
It
you
was
say,
8 of us too, Pastor.
yes,
It was 8
yeah.
of us. So we're in the same boat.
Okay, you mentioned like the cable bill, cell phone
Mhm.
bill. And they'll add on a dollar or two charge for something here, and okay, it just went up and people will pay it. And
Yes.
like you say, cable started off with 69, then it was $99. And then, you
Mhm.
get the $99 deal. Next thing you know, you're paying 150 and 170 a month. And it's like, well, what happened?
Yep.
And we say we really have to, have to take stock of how much we're paying for some of these things, and what utility are we really getting out of them?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And again, we're going to go back to our childhood days when things were not nearly expensive as they are now.
Yes.
When you left out of a room, what your
Hmm.
parents say, turn the light out,
Yes.
right? That's running up
Yes.
my electric bill. You're not in the room, man.
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
we have one TV, right?
Right.
Now
Yeah.
household, you got 5 TVs. Every light on the is in every light in the house is on.
And all the computers going, and everything's
Right.
plugged in, and yeah, yeah, sure,
Yeah, it's the simple things, Pastor. The
yeah,
simple things that we
for
need
sure.
to get back to in order to get through this financial storm, if you will.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and again,
So
I don't
what
have a
kind of
problem
things can
with
people expect? I mean, was again, we're looking at projections. I know I was going to ask you. Let me check. You know, people always talk about Wall Street. You haven't heard people talk about Wall Street as much in the news the last 6, 12 months. What's going on with Wall Street stock market? What's going on there?
Well, an article the other day that talked about at the bottom of the market, which would have probably been April, May,
Okay.
um, the richest people in the world, the Bezos of the world,
Mm-hmm.
um, Elon Musk of the world, these guys, the Zuckerbergs, they lost nearly half of their wealth.
Wow.
Okay, it's a staggering number.
Wow.
But what also happened was during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
these were the individuals that made the most money.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
they made the most money during the pandemic. I
Okay.
mean, Bezos, with the advent of that's home delivery,
Oh gosh. Oh man. Yeah.
it changed the game.
Yeah. He was. That would be positioned with the right thing at the right time, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
changed the game. What we're doing here today, right? This
Uh-huh.
Zoom call,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All of this came about during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and these guys made tons of money. Now we're into an environment where the grocery stores, right? You
Yes.
watch people now pull up to the grocery store and they come out, they load your car with your groceries,
Yeah. Yeah.
you drive off.
Right.
Okay, so what has happened is that's the tech part of
Mm-hmm.
this Wall Street phenomena, the tech
Okay.
part. The
Okay.
brick and mortars are your malls, your Home Depot, all these kind of guys. During the pandemic, they suffered immensely, right?
Okay.
Everything was shut down, and even the oil producing companies, the
Yeah.
Exxon's, the
Yes.
Occidental, they took a beating. These last few months, they have had record profits.
Okay.
The oil industry has had record profits.
Okay.
And of course, they say, well, they're price gouging. Yes, they are. But what they're doing is they're making up for what they lost during the
Okay.
pandemic.
Okay.
Okay. But
Yeah.
Wall Street, the people on Wall Street know this is a short term proposition for these oil companies
Okay.
because green energy is is definitely on the horizon.
Okay.
And these oil companies will not be able to survive in the present business model that they have
Okay.
because the appetite for gasoline at the current rate, as we know it today,
Mm-hmm.
is going to go away.
Okay.
When you start powering these power plants with nuclear energy and not coal, when 50% of
Yeah.
the population is driving electric vehicles, I mean, even the lawnmower people have gotten into the battery
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all these things are evolving, And these oil companies know that it's only a matter of time,
Okay.
and their profit margin is going to shrink, and they're going to have to reinvent themselves to be relevant to the folks on Wall Street. Because what folks on Wall Street look at is earnings.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Okay.
pay dividends if you're operating at a deficit.
Okay.
Your stock value won't appreciate if you're operating at a deficit. That is
Okay.
what attracts the people to Wall Street. And when they
Okay.
talk about forward thinking, these CEOs of these companies have to project 6 months out,
Okay.
and even further, where their company is going to be and what kind of return are they going to be providing to their investors.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because if they don't, then people are going to take their money elsewhere and that company won't survive.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but right now the stock market is starting to, settle in, right?
Okay.
We haven't seen the huge moves in the market like we've seen earlier in the summer months. So I think we're to the bottom. And then, when we get reports like today, that gives the Wall Street institutional investors encouraging news that maybe this recession is not going to be as bad as,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the procrastinators have made it out to be. So,
Yeah. Okay. But I can talk to you all day. But I want to hit two things. I know make sure we're getting this. Our time is running out. But one, what could you tell me about the airline industry? Again, it's it's crazy. But how much does it affect the economy? And again, anybody that's flown does know, it's you rolling the dice with your flights now.
you got that right.
Yeah.
Well, the airline industry pulled a fast one on the federal government.
Okay.
They pulled the end around, the old double reverse.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, right, they all screamed, we're going to go broke, we're going to go under,
Mm-hmm.
because people stopped flying. So government says, okay, we're going to give you this welfare check. But in order to get this corporate welfare check,
Okay.
you can't lay off any employees.
Okay.
The purpose of this money is to maintain your level of employment. So when things get back on track, you guys can be ready to handle the demand that's going to come with the economy coming back around.
Okay.
So they said, okay, we'll do that. We won't lay anybody off. But what they did is they offered up these fancy retirement packages.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay, so for those people that were, 2 to 3 years out from the retirement age, they gave them a little incentive to go ahead and retire early.
Okay.
And pilots, there's a mandatory retirement age for pilots.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is 60, I believe it's 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fly anymore. So they did the same thing with pilots.
Okay.
They didn't lay anybody off, but they gave them some, enhanced retirement packages.
All right.
So when the economy came back around, the airline industry was not ready.
Mm.
They had let enough people go to where it affected their ability to service the demand that the public had brought to their doorstep.
Mm. We should maybe make them repay their COVID money.
They really should. They should be called to the carpet in Congress to explain what happened.
Yeah.
Because when you get delays, you're right, man. The worst thing you can do is is do a connecting flight.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Don't do connecting flights if you can avoid it at all.
Yeah. Just
right.
Yeah. You just may not get where you just may not. Everybody I've known flown the last few months, it's just been like, I don't know. You just don't know if you're gonna get there or not.
No, it's like rolling the dice, man. You don't know what's gonna happen there. So but no connecting flights. If you can get a direct flight, you're better off taking that drive possibly to Detroit, Chicago, or if you can get a direct flight out of Grand Rapids, then great. But at this point in time, avoid that at all costs. They were having delays because they didn't have enough people to man the aircraft.
Okay.
Right. There's a lot of things that go into preparing an aircraft to transport people, right?
Yeah.
You got
Yes.
food service, you got cleaning, you got mechanics, and most of
Mhm.
all, you got to have pilots.
Yes.
Uh, flight attendants. There's a lot of things that go into that, and
Yes.
most of the major carriers missed it.
Yeah.
Caused people all kind of heartache, man.
Yeah. Now, I'm just guessing that again, we won't have that much time, but the healthcare industry has had some of the same issues, haven't they, with a lot of
Yes,
people leaving and not be able to backfill not so much the doctors, but a lot of those support positions.
they were burned out, man.
Yeah.
COVID took them out. If they didn't take them out from a physical standpoint, it took them
Hmm.
out mentally. They were
Yeah.
burned out. I talked to my doctor, who's at the hospital that changes its name like every month. Um, he said there were a group of physicians there during the pandemic, and after that, all those guys took off. So
They
they
just
were just went to other areas of employment.
wow. Wow.
You can go to university and teach or be a consultant or whatever, but from that
Hmm.
that day-to-day patient care, they got out of
Yeah.
it, along
Yeah.
with RNs and what have you. And traveling nurses is the way to go.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
You hear
Yeah.
about the kind of money they're making.
Yeah, man, we'll have to do a show just talk about careers. That's an amazing career with outstanding pay and benefits. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
brother, we could sit and do this for hours, man. I'm gonna have to
yeah.
stop. I'm gonna have to call you one day and we just sit down with a cup of coffee and just kick it a little bit. But I'm
Anytime.
appreciative, man, of having somebody so knowledgeable to come on air with us and share your knowledge with Muskegon. Tell folks who you are and what you do.
Okay, I am Tony Williams, um, lifelong resident of Muskegon. Went away for a while for to go to college and go out and see the rest of the world. But I do have my own business here in Muskegon. It's Farmers Insurance, and we're located at the 7052 Pine Street, downtown Muskegon. Um, there's one thing I'm going to share before we go.
Hmm.
I had a conversation with a lady. I was in California, and talking about moving out of Muskegon. When I left Muskegon, I was never coming back. Right? Got out in that world, man, and found out what all that goes on. This. We are so fortunate to
Yes.
have a town like we have.
Okay.
Um, so we always got bad things to say about Muskegon, man, but I love it. I
Yeah.
love Muskegon. I'll tell you
I
that.
hear you, brother. I hear you.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. But yeah, Pastor, I appreciate it anytime. I love talking to you. Like you say, one day we'll sit down and break bread and just have us a great conversation. Um, and anytime, if you got a question about anything at all, I'm here to help you.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully, brother Greg, we allowed him a little vacation time, but I'm sure he wish you well also. And
Of
we'll
course,
we'll
that's my
catch up
guy,
again
man.
pretty
He's a good
soon.
guy.
Yes.
So yeah,
I know
next
it's
time, hopefully
August. You got your big red shirt on. So I was telling somebody the other day, when you used to be on the gridiron, it take about 20, 30 years in August come around. You don't feel like you should be out there getting ready for the season. I don't feel that way anymore, but it took a couple of years for like August. I should be getting conditioned, and so we'll
yeah,
be
you're right.
won't be long before you'll be down in Hackley Stadium getting ready for another kickoff, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's closer than we think, Pastor.
Okay, how's the team gonna look this year?
Absolutely awesome.
Okay,
Awesome. You hear me? Man, there's so
okay,
many great things happening up there on Southern Street, man, from an academics,
yes,
uh, infrastructure, support. It's just, man, Muskegon is just a wonderful town. And like I say, the people
man,
that are part of this thing have done a great job.
and that's great. That's great. Yeah, you can't beat it in the summertime. I don't know about the winter
Oh,
always, but summer, I cannot beat being here.
I will never take another vacation in the summer as long as I'm living here, man.
It is.
I
This is the
love it.
vacation, isn't it?
It's a waste of time and money to leave Muskegon in the summer.
Yeah. Well, hey man, you take care. Be blessed. All right.
All right, Pastor, and thank you for
Oh,
having me on.
all right. You're welcome. All right, Muskegon. Again, this has been Torn in Two. I want to thank my brother Greg Roberts for letting me be here. Man, that was Tony Williams. That was some good stuff. That was just some good stuff. I mean, you can, you watch CNN, MSNBC, but you got a local guy here, man, that can get you informed, keep you up to date, give you insight on what's going on in the economy. Just what a tremendous opportunity for us, and we thank him. Benita, my sister, I love you. Thank you so much for keeping up with what's going on here in your hometown. For you folks out there listening, look, it's a beautiful weekend. I want you to get out. I want you to enjoy yourself. As my brother always says, sow a positive seed somewhere. Do some good in somebody's life. All right. This is Pastor Melvin Burns. This has been Torn in Two. Hey, Lady J, thank you for making me look good and sound good and give people the impression I know what I'm doing here. PA and Big Rob, hey, you guys are the best. Have a good weekend, folks.